Right, so as you can see, I've got the M61 V2 here, as a lot of people call it, or M61 version 2. Some people even tried to call it the M61 M2. That's no. The point is, it's the second version of the M61, and here we have its original derivative, the US M9. This one's a bit sun-tanned. It would have been this colour originally, like an alien grey. The filter would not have stood out this much. This one's just been sun-cooked, because someone's mistreated it before I got a hold of it, and it's also Firestone. No offence, Firestone, but your rubber ain't cracking. Cracking in a literal sense. But anyway, the Finnish M61, which, if I remember correctly, was actually licensed. There were several M9 clones used by like Japan, Yugoslavia, all sorts of countries. I've got a bunch. I could have grabbed them all out. I can't be bothered. Norway probably made some of the best ones, in my opinion, but also up there are these, the Finnish ones. They also made Finnish adapters, however, whether or not they were actually used with this is a different story, because I can't remember if they did. Because for the life of me, I cannot think of a 40mm filter that they used in conjunction with this mask. I mean, we've seen in the past that some Finnish experimentals have been certainly done, and they've been interesting, to say the least, such as the Chimera with the British General Civilian Respirator filter in it from a correctly. Anyway, sorry, I got a bit distracted there. Now you might think to yourself, oh hang on, he's already covered this. Well, yes I have. There is a V1, and there's actually a few available on D&B Militaria for not a bad price, but they're in trash condition. The way you can tell between a V1 and a V2, and this has stumped a lot of people, including myself, is the cover. And on the wiki it says that the V2 has an extended cover, and in your head you probably might think of the Skids mask M51, if I think I remember what it was called, their version of the M9 clone, which had an exhale about down here. It was a bit of a piss take, like talk about really directing it. This is like a suggestion compared to that. And people thought, like, oh, so the Finnish V2 would be as long as that. Why can't I find one? Well, this is actually it. Because the V1 would have had a direct clone much like this, where it just has the hanging part down. So you can see there that this is a V2, if the focus wants to work. Whatever, not important. So, now that's out of the way. Now I also see a lot of people trying to sell these things on eBay without this attached, which is always odd. This one actually is one of the V2s that still had the Nokia symbol on it. It's got the tower defense symbol, and also it's got the Nokia logo on it, which if I take this off here, you can see right there. It's faded a bit in the middle, but you know, it's generally all there. It's size 1 large. Not really not talk about this. You got your quick release straps. I've already covered all this, and there's some very good pictures over on my wiki, on my Insta, if I do say so myself. My wiki, my god. Suffering, of course, from the usual M9 clone problem, where if you stick out one of your lips, you can completely stop airflow. In fact, some people even have it stop airflow entirely. So, if that's that covered, then what else is there to talk about? This, the V3. This one actually has a voice diaphragm this time around, which is actually rather good in its own primitive way. It has a bit of reverb. This one is also size 1. It took me a while to find one of these in size 1. I even asked someone in Finland. He said he'd never fucking seen one, although he also wasn't paying too much attention. Something that's interesting to note is that it has these support straps, which is a sort of their own version of this, which is to add a better seal to the user's face. Despite the fact that you wouldn't really need that with this mask, particularly because they actually did add the peripheral seal. And this V2 does not have those. However, I have actually seen and owned some that did have that, so that's a bit fucky. I don't really know what's going on with that. But regardless, V3 is exactly the same as that. This one, again, size 1 large, size 3 being small. 60mm. There's actually something... Oh, I could go and show it. It's getting darker. Anyway. The port, and I recently got sent this from Mark, so big thanks to Mark. It's a spare valve. What's interesting is it's actually a filter cap that they've punched through, and they've added a little nodule, little fucking spiky roddy bit goes through and then attach the valve. If I pull out this filter here, I do have two filters, but I can't seem to find the other fucking one. If I pull this off, it's just an unpainted filter cap. Actually no, different metals, I just noticed. Well, regardless, it's still from the same mould, is the point. Same style, look at that. I thought that was rather interesting. Anyway, the V3 did have its own later filter as well, which had a whole bunch more of these bits sticking out here. Once again, taking inspiration from the M9 filter, but this time this is outside instead of indented. The M11 combat canister. This one's actually got bent thread, so it doesn't go onto masks too easily. That's about the part where it starts scraping. So I am going to demonstrate to you the voice on this. So like I say, this was essentially the last of the M9 clones, I think, around the time until the M2 came out. People say the M2 is an M9 clone. I think it was just more of an upgrade of the M9 clone. They already had the M1 that they also took a bit of inspiration from with the S6. So I can't help but notice there are quite a few similarities, but that's just my own ideology. So with this thing attached, it is at least something better. It's not as mumbled and muffled as the V2. Like I say, there isn't much reverb, but it does, if you're not being loud and you're mumbling, then it does sound a little bit more vibrating and robotic, because it is, at the end of the day, just a metal sheet. It's a little metal disc. These have come stamped on upside down. Other people have noted it, and also, most famously, Weapons and Stuff 93, who took his off, tried to flip it around, found it didn't seal anymore, and had to glue it back on. I find this actually compromises the seal a little bit, but maybe that's just me, because I find that it doesn't quite sit perfectly, and the metal valve isn't perfect, so there's a lot going into this. Internally, it's entirely the same, and a lot of people seem to have trouble finding these, so allow me to demonstrate. These do actually have date stamps. I can't never remember which side it's on. You probably won't be able to see it in this light. Sorry for a moment there. Come on. Whatever, you can see that it's there. And in this case, mine says 7079/4/9, and then here we've got the date stamp. It's got 7 little round dots, so probably the 7th month. It's interesting, it says 80, and then on the next to it says 85. So I don't know if this was issued in 1980 or 1985. But the point is, these do actually have date stamps, contrary to what people seem to think. I myself actually thought they didn't have them for a while, and that they would have just been inked on. Yeah, regardless, I've put that on the wrong angle. I just thought it was very interesting. I've actually got some of the kit here, not all of it, but a fair bit of it. Got the rather good satchel, which has poppers on here, and you can put your fingers under there to pop it on. They're a bit harder to get back off. The SA, which I forget what it means, I'm pretty sure it's just Finnish Army. It does have a waist strap, which I've just tied around the back, because I've got no need for it to be there. Yeah, I've got no need for it to be there. Simple strap, which does actually clip off on one side, which is pretty good. I actually use this as my out-to-melt satchel if I need one. I don't have need of a whole backpack. It's very spacious in here, actually. I don't know if you saw what I just saw, but that's problematic. It's because I live between two fast food joints. No, fuck off. When I focus, I just need to, there you go, brighten up. So if I open this up as well, there's pockets in here. Lots of nice little pockets that all have varying sizes. And the middle one here, lacking most of the other stuff that'd be in here. I mean, they would have had a manual for it all correctly. Wiping down fog from wiping down cloth, and some just general cotton pads, I presume, for wiping down the lenses, and a nice big container of that. I keep seeing the light reflecting off these things, and I forget that it's my own room. So yeah, pudistocene. It's decontamination powder is the whole point. Open it up and it's like a little, yeah. I don't know if you want to read all that. be my guess. So slot that back in there. And that's about all I've got to really talk about this. The M61 V3. An overall improvement, and the last design that the Finnish used with their M9 clones. Frankly, I think it's better. Like, they did improve it, they did a lot better, but then they moved on to things like the M95, if I recall correctly. The filter, once again, not actually having an expiry date, but instead having a grammage on it, which the M11 combat caster actually also has on it, which they would just assumed, oh hey, that's when it expires. Oh, and I can also... Oh, no, go on. Like I say, the threads on this filter are a bit bent, but and I couldn't find my good one. Yeah, there you have it. I can put all that back on now. The Finnish M61 V3, and also by extension the V2. Rather interesting upgrade to the M9 design. Not perfect, but also not the worst thing